Hey everybody, I wanted to do a review on this book for a long time, but I haven't been able to read it entirely. It really is like an encyclopedia in size, and just has so much information, and is just mind-boggling, but it has some really good information, and I reckon for you people in the Bushcraft would really love to have a look at this video. Hey, what you doing? I'm in the middle of making a book review type video. Why? Because I wanted to show this book. Why? Because I like bushcraft and showing stuff. Why? That's why. Right. Sorry about that. He gets, you people think he is cute and funny. He is so annoying. You don't have to live with him. Yeah, he's alright. I just gave him a concussion. He'll be fine. Whatever. But I really would love to show you guys this book. It's called Australian Plants as Aboriginal Tools. Yeah, I know it's a bit long-winded, but basically that kind of boils down to Aboriginal ethnobotany, or Australian Aboriginal archaeoethnobotany, whatever you want to call it. It's a book compiled doing kind of a research on different ways that Australian Aborigines used plants for their indigenous skills. So as an Australian bushcrafter and someone who loves indigenous skills and wants to learn more about Australian Aboriginal skills, I just had to have this book. Now, isn't the best if you want to actually go out and do some of these skills. It's not a how-to book. Like, for example, it'll show us this lovely nice bag that was weaved, but it won't teach us how to do it. And it'll show us this Aboriginal fighting shield, which was also used to make fire by friction, but will not show us how. But for people who are willing to do a bit of experimental archaeology, this is a great book because it opens up a lot of avenues for further research, as well as giving little hints to help us out. I would love if it went into detail, step by step, on how they made everything, but sadly it doesn't. However, I can sort of fill in the gaps using, my knowledge of bushcraft and how other indigenous cultures have achieved similar things. But with this I get visual examples as well as a description of how it was done sometimes. But it at least gives me something to work with. There's a nice spearhead with lots of cordage attached to it, and gives me little things that I can try myself, and gives me little tips. Like there was a section where I was talking about spears, which I'm having trouble finding now for some reason. We've got watercraft, containers. Damn it! Now I can't. Now I can't find the section. All right. Watercraft, more canoe making. Where are you? But I have not read the whole thing. It is just so thick with information, and it's not the kind of thing you really want to just read from cover to cover like a story. The way I've been reading it is I just, I'll read a small section and I'll think about it and try and fill in the blanks of the things I would like to know more about. But also it's good to just think, alright, what do I want to learn? Well, let's have an example of this. Let's say I want to learn more about fish hooks because I'm in the middle of making because at the moment I'm in the middle of making primitive fishing line. I've been working on it, my fingers are all sore, so I figured I'd come make this video. Why? Shut up! Alright, so I want to learn about fish hooks. There's the section on fish hooks. It talks about different materials they were used. like different like shells and blah blah blah. You get the gist of it. Doesn't show how, but tells me what some of the things that we used, so I can try to fill in the blanks, do a bit of experimental archaeology. Now, honestly, I think it's a little offensive to be doing experimental archaeology on cultures that are still around, but some people still have indigenous knowledge, but it's not always easy to meet people who have that first-hand knowledge. And I was down in New South Wales at an Aboriginal cultural centre, and they have lost a lot of their indigenous knowledge on how they used to do things, and they are doing experimental archaeology, trying to reverse engineer how their ancestors did stuff with artifacts that they can find. And I was talking to the lady there about cordage, and so she mentioned how they had an old bag that was made long ago by an Aboriginal elder, and they reverse engineered the weave pattern of how that bag was made. And so she took me around the corner to show me this bag that was made by one of her ancestors, and she wanted to know if I had any idea what it was made of. And from looking at it, if I had to guess, I would guess it would have been some kind of inner bark, just looking at the structure of the fibers, and it was double ply reverse wrapped, just by looking at the way that the fibers twist. And that was when I realized that this bag was made from double ply reverse wrapped cordage. I got so excited I forgot to breathe. Yes, I'm a bushcraft nerd. Deal with it. And I told her that, and she got really interested, so I showed her how I was making double ply reverse wrapped cordage out of inner bark from strangler fig. Now, is that the way it was made by her ancestors? We don't know. They would have to do some kind of DNA testing on the fibers if they really wanted to know what type of plant it was. And is my method that I was using to make double ply reverse wrapped cordage the same as theirs? Probably not. Theirs had a looser weave than mine. However, the lady was working there was just so appreciative that I was able to tell her that the bag that they had there as an antique from her ancestors, the fibers looked just like double ply reverse wrapped cordage made from inner bark. That's what they looked like, and no one knew what it was actually made out of. That's something they really wanted to know, so I was so happy to be able to help that just a little bit, but we're getting way off topic. But I really love this book. It is a great addition to my Bushcraft and Survival library. It's not perfect, and I wish it went into greater detail, I honestly do. However, I can't help but feel that it was definitely worth the $40 to $50 I paid for it. I forget how much I paid for it. It's not a cheap book, but for someone who is just obsessed with bushcraft, especially Australian Indigenous bushcraft, this book was worth it, and I would recommend it to other people. Even if you're from overseas, you still might get some value from it and find it very interesting. In fact, I was just briefly looking at a section on making spears from multiple types of woods. Like, you see this spear on the front cover? That's a composite spear and woomera. That shaft there is a different material to that shaft there, and you can tell it's bound on here. Don't know how well you can see that. See? That's a different wood to that. And it was talking about how that's a hardwood, obviously, and that's a softwood. And yes, I already knew that, but it discussed some of the plants that were sometimes used. One of them is the stalk from a Xanathoria. And honestly, I thought Xanathoria would have been too soft to use for a spear shaft, but we will see. Next time I decide I'm going to make a spear and woomera, I'm going to try for a shaft made of Xanathoria stalk, because there's a lot of Xanathoria around here. Though I do want to make a woomer to go with my Zamburu spear made by cold steel. However, I also would like to have a go at making a more primitive spear to go with the spear and woomer. It will be so awesome. So, it is a bit of a pricey book, but I am picking up tips from it. I'm getting bits of information, and it really is helping me further my knowledge of bushcraft and furthering my ability to create things primitively. So I will leave it up to you. Is $40 to $50, which is the price range you'll find this book in, is that enough to further your understanding of primitive skills? I'll leave that question up to you. Alright everyone.